Hello and welcome. My name is Nana Ansakwa and this is PM Express Corporate Wednesday. Even though I don't brand it, but Wednesdays, if you have noticed, we normally talk about something to do with business. So Wednesdays are normally Corporate Wednesdays, and very soon we'll be doing branding. And apparently, don't assume that your customers know what you're doing. So I'm telling you that Wednesdays are corporate, and it doesn't get corporate than where I am today. Folks, just a few months ago, we were all dragged to Senche. Best brains all came together to think through a solution for our economy. And then we waited for the implementation and nothing seemed to happen. And then the best of brains were dragged to Pediasi. Again, then we were waiting for something to happen. And then the cream of the crop now says, no, we have to go to the IMF. But as to whether it's a bailout, whether we're going there for an advice, we are not quite sure yet. But in any case, we're going to the IMF. If you've done any little research within Africa, there isn't a single country that comes out boasting that we have become a developed country because we went to the IMF. And therefore, the president of the Chamber of Commerce of Ghana and Industry has said he's not quite sure it's a good idea for us to go to the IMF, and that maybe we need to look for homegrown solutions. I am here to get educated, and I'm sure you too. Now, he's a former member of parliament for Nkoko, and he's Dr. Seth Ejeban, president of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Folks, stay tuned for education. Doctor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Doc, IMF bailout or not bailout, but either way, Professor Kusibochi is going to lead the team to go there, and you are of the impression that it might not be the best solution.
Thank you very much. I think IMF, in short, we're going there for what? I think for a loan. And the loan comes with certain conditions. That is all about it. And we have to look at the conditions, whether they are right for us to help us move from where we are to anywhere better. And I think those are the conditions we are looking at, and look at where we are and ask ourselves whether really this is the way out. We know that government employs roughly about 6% of the Ghanaian population. The rest is being handled by the private sector. Already we have unemployment program on our hands. We are trying to see how we can deal with that. To deal with it, there's a need for private sector to be able to create employment by expanding their businesses. Unfortunately, the conditions available does not allow us to be able to expand because the cost of doing business is already high. So if we are not able to expand to help to absorb those who are not already employed, and conditionalities are telling us before you get ABC, you have to lay off people.
And that's part of the 6%.
Yes, part of the 6% should be taken off. Are we not adding on to the programs? That is the first question. We already have a lot of unemployment on our hands, and we're going to take some and just leave them on this thing again. But if you look at it clearly, the 6% is not because they are anything, but because maybe they have been well trained, put in a position to impact positively. So it's as if we don't see their usefulness, so that is why we want to lay them off. Very, very useful 6%. They need to help collaborate with the private sector to be able to move the economy forward. So we need to have a way to retrain, re-equip them to be able to do what they have to do to help to move the economy forward, rather than to say that let's lay some off. That is not the only condition. They are looking about taxes. Or we are already overburdened with taxes. Overburdened with taxes. That is what is not helping us to be able to expand. If you're talking about cost of doing business in Ghana, look at the cost of borrowing. Around 38% per annum. When we go just next door, Togo, Nigeria, and other places, go and check out and see. We don't want to go to China and other places, they are talking about 3.5%. But if you are borrowing at 38%, how do you go into manufacturing and be able to succeed? It is not possible.
Or even compete.
Even compete. Then we look at our power situation as of today.
Before we go to power, if I come back to the IMF, The general belief is that when you go to IMF, the investors have confidence in you, and therefore they come to invest, and businesses will boom. So it will probably help the private sector that you're
When we are
concerned
talking
about.
about investors coming into investing in a country, first they want to look at the indigenous investors who are here. What we are doing as Ghanaians here. The Ghanaian investors who are in Ghana, how they are doing. If they are not doing that well, they could never come in. We attract them to come into partnership with us, or we are able to convince them to come in. It's not about any policy. Business people all over the world are looking for wanting profit. So they want to look at what the local person is doing. Is he making a profit? Is he prospering? Then I can entice somebody to come. It's good here. Let's do 30, 70 or 40, 50 or whatever. Then we go into that. So the facts are that we should first make sure that we give a enabling environment that will attract people to come here to invest. Let me ask you let me tell you one thing. If somebody should bring in $10 million today, he melts it down into cities. If he decides to go back next year, he might not be able to take his 10 million back. Or maybe by next year, if you melt it today at 3.7, you get about 37 million Ghana cedis. Next year, you might need 50 million to change it. So the person cannot even take his same 10 million with that profit back. How will the person come in? We're talking about the cost of doing business, electricity. The doomsday has become a norm for today. So if somebody is doing something which requires electricity, he needs to buy a generator standby, he needs to fuel it. Fuel also is priced according to the depreciation of the city. Every now and then, city drops, they raise the price. City drops, they raise the price. So the cost of doing business is not even controllable. People are very suffering. If we will talk about raw material, we are a raw material based nation. Bringing the raw materials from the hinterlands to the cities to produce infrastructure is a challenge. So what are we talking about? We have to look within to address most of the issues before we can look at it to attract people to come in. Or if we are not able to address the issues within, no matter how much loan we pick, it will still go into the drain. So we think we should sit down, look within, and find a way to address the issues. We should not be adding tax. We have to spread the tax net. A lot of people are not paying tax. And when you raise the taxes too much, they should not underrate the business person. We avoid paying the tax. And we'll do it. We know how to do it nicely. So if they say the government officials or the people are not doing the right thing, they will allow us to influence them not to do the right thing. But if the tax is affordable and everybody loves to pay, it is within reach. Why wouldn't we pay? But if you raise it, you are compelling people to find other means to avoid paying tax, which is wrong. We are not saying it's good for them to do that, but certain situations compel people to do what they don't want to do.
I mean, because of how, I may say, maybe political illiterate the nation has become, with your utterances, are you scared to say, oh, well, he's anti-government because he's speaking like this?
I think people have been calling. Yesterday, I've been to a couple of places, and sometimes I feel so sad. I'm passionate about Ghana. I love Ghana. That is the only place I have. I can't stay anywhere outside Ghana. I love my food, I love my people, I love the environment. So we need to speak out that government will put things right for us, for our economy to grow.
Do we have time to do homegrown measures, or time has eluded us and so we have to run to IMF?
I think we can still do more locally. It's not about how much we are bringing in. It's about prioritizing things and doing it right. I'm sorry, I hear we want to take a loan to send electricity to another 600 villages to connect them to the national grid. We have not been able to give loan to VACO to produce aluminium. And we are importing about 300 million worth of aluminium from outside. Whereas if we had given VACO electricity, it would have created the employment, we get aluminium, and as such, we will not import aluminium, so the pressure on the city will go down. But VACO is there. I go to my village, I feel so sad. A lot of young men who are not employed, and most of them will sit by one television watching. What is electricity doing? Just watching television? I would have expected that electricity should be given to kickstart industry. We have to look at industry that let's kickstart industry and the economy will be started. But we are not doing that. We're still going for more money to put and connect other villages. My brother, let's look at industry. If we're able to do that, then we can create the needed employment. When people are employed and they have money, they can pay for their kids' school fees, they can buy uniforms. If they have money, they can go to hospital, they can do a lot of things. But a lot of people are not employed. And the few 6% who are employed, for God's sake, do we send some back home? My brother.
The argument is that even though it's only a 6% of the nation, the size of government or the government employees are too many. 400,000 in excess of 600,000.
600,000, yeah.
And that's too many for government to handle. And one of the challenges is that the wage bill. So even though it's only 6%, how do we carry them along?
You are talking about wage bill. They are talking about wage bill because they are not talking about the output. If you put something into something, you expect something to come out, unless they are saying the people are of no use as at now. But if the output is right, you don't talk about what you are putting in. It means then government should come to us to tell us that they don't see anything coming out of the public sector, so we think we should downsize them. But public sector is an important part of our development. Public sector, without the public sector, the private sector cannot do much. So we should be able to make them come out with results. Then we'll see their importance and be able to spend on them. It's because we are not getting anything coming from anywhere. That is why we think there's something wrong with them. The wage bill is too much. It's not that much. It's because we are not productive. Nothing is coming out of what we are doing. So we say that's something. A pastor told me that if the thing is small, it's small. But let's look at the realities on the ground to see how we can kickstart the economy to be able to let things grow. When things are growing, then we can say that even if people can leave public sector to support private sector, we can't just get them out and throw them on the street. Some will turn up to robberies and other things, and we are in danger. So let's look at how to address the issues. Start and put things right, and gradually we'll be there.
The cost of production, I know you've mentioned a few factors. Those in business today, how are they staying in business with the cost of production? Doomsaw has been mentioned, CD devaluates and the fuel price goes up, and any serious business worth his salt today must have a standby generator. So those in business, how are they surviving and how are they competing?
I can assure you a lot of businesses are closing down and relocating. We get some reports and we feel so sad about that. Because one, we are people are in business for money. And if you cannot break even because of all this cost, then what do? You have to relocate and find a way to keep your wealth. And that is what people are doing, and I feel so sad about it because some of us can't move out. I love my nation. I want to be a Ghanaian and live and work in Ghana. But the situation is that something has to be done about it. You look at fuel. I'll not be surprised fuel price will go up even next month again. Bank rates are still going up every now and then. Water, electricity, our roads. What are we talking about? But we are in business for money. So now, people are pushed to do what under normal circumstances they will not do. To cut the corners, to reduce quality, to reduce quantity and other things. If somebody has to maybe bottle or bag sachet water, 500 ml, he does it 450 and selling to the public as 500, or he does it 400. Cutting corners that business people are not supposed to do, but they are compelled to do it. If they think the tax is too much, they will go around it, and government loses everything. So the situation is that we love the nation, we want to do the right thing, we want to make sure that we are able to set things right and develop the economy. Let's sit down and look at how best we can do it together. It looks as if the public sector do not understand the private sector. We do not understand them either. We have to sit down and have a middle way to be able to look at how we can approach the economy. Other than that, we are in danger.
I'm going to take a break here, and then when I come back, in spite of all the challenges that make production go high, do we also have an overpricing culture that kill me quick, where the average Ghanaian businessman doesn't think, let me do numbers, but I sell one pen, and if you buy it, that's it, I'm going on retirement with the profit on the pen. Do we have that culture on the back of, well, we're talking about IMF bailout, in general conditions that industries have to bear in our dear land Ghana? And I'm talking to Dr. Seth Ejeban, obviously in the industry, so he's not saying they said, she said. He's what he knows is happening in the industry. But before the break, I was wondering, have we developed an overpricing culture? I mean, the prices on the market, are they the true cost of items, or is it because, well, petrol prices are going up, or and therefore they're taking advantage of it? I'll give you an example. I buy a pair of native sandals for 30 Ghana cedis on Saturday. Sunday, I turn up at the shop, it was closed. I go to the art center. The same pair of native sandals, the guy tells me, is 250 Ghana cedis. I have never been so outraged in my life. I thought it was an insult. And what did he say? Boss, I'm saying things are expensive. Are people taking advantage of the situation, doctor?
Thank you very much. When you talk about taking advantage, businesses are to take advantage to make wealth. That is the first thing I want you to know. But it doesn't mean people are taking undue advantage.
Okay.
One, we import quite a lot of things. When you import, you are given 90 days or 120 days to pay. So if I know dollar is stable, I can give credit to some of the wholesalers so that they can also pass on. I peg dollar at, let's say, maybe 3.8, 3.9. Then I do my pricing. Today, I don't know how much dollar will be by the end of this month. So I cannot even give 1 month credit to anybody. It's out of the question. If I want to give credit to somebody, instead of pegging dollar at, let's say, 4 cedis, I might decide to peg it at 5 cedis. Should in case it goes down along that line. So technically, something I should have priced for 400 today, I'll price it for 500. So that when I get the money in a month's time, I can still hold the value of the dollar. Because mind you, everything is put with the dollar. So if $1 was 2.1 last year, the same $1 is about 4 cedis today. And when you look at the PPI, we realize that the index is about 47.4% for production alone. Wow. Then what are we talking about? And all that we should understand is that business people are in for profit. That's why we should get it clear. We are not doing charity. We are not doing anything. It's not about charity. It's about profit. That is the first thing. So anything that will let him have an advantage to make a profit, he will take advantage to make a profit. Because at times also they lose a lot of money just because of a policy. So if the person can make a profit and he realizes there's a loophole, there are shortages, I bet you they will take advantage. I will take advantage in the same way because I'm in business. When the market is flooded, they are not making profit. It's part of it.
Is profit not maybe overtaking things like quality, longevity?
When all being equal, but if all are not equal, what are you talking about? All being equal, there are 3 factors. If you want to say we are going to consume made in Ghana goods, the quality, and the quantity, these things should be available. We need to get the right quality, produce the right quantities, and the right pricing. This threaten the right price, the right quality, the right quantity. Are things equal? Are we getting everything the way we should get it? No, because of that, we can't match the right quality. That is why people are still importing. If we can even get the quality, we can't get the quantity. So people will still import. If we can get a 2, we cannot meet the price. Because if we try to get the right quality, the right quantity, the price will go up. Because I'm borrowing at 38%. Somebody is borrowing at 3.5%. So he cannot meet the price. So how do we say consume made in Ghana goods? It's ability to pay. When Britain started use British goods, they go and sausage, they are all €10 or £10. They will look at it from Spain, from this, okay, £10, the same price. I'll pick the one from UK. But here, if you put bottled mineral water, Baltic, or Smile there, and maybe it's 2 cities, and somebody can bring water from Turkey, and it's 1.5 cedis. Which one are you going to take? Because you say I'm patriotic, then I buy 2 cedis against 1.5. When we know the level of our salaries, most people go for what they can afford, and that is the situation on the ground. So we should look at the issue as it is. We cannot just preach made in Ghana goods. I've been citing this example. Those who drink Star, Golda, Stone, and other things, they don't import Star here. They drink because Star is here in the right quality, the quantity they are looking for at the right price. I saw something, rice, beer, Stone. It will be here at the right quality, the quantity, and the right price. So if you are an importer, you want to import Stone from Nigeria, you will not make profit. So why won't people patronize what is here locally? The other products we are talking about, fruit juice. We are importing a lot of fruit juice from Egypt here and other places. We have the land to do fruits and other things. Why? The production cost at the end of it, we cannot compete what is coming in.
So that leads me to my next question. Should we have a deliberate policy to take duties or levies of raw materials meant for production? I mean, should the state, take a deliberate action, something like that, to help industry to produce?
Government should come out with a policy directly to support private sector to grow, support private sector to drive the economy. But government is not doing that. Put money into private sector. They'll give an excuse to say that if you say they shouldn't pay duties on certain raw materials, they bring finished goods and turn them as raw materials, and so this and that. And because of that, so we should keep on suffering. It's the structures that should be able to check to know that this is rare raw material, because there was an instant they said they were giving exemption for people who were importing margarine and other things to do biscuit. And people imported 1 kilo margarine these things and say it was for biscuit, and they were diverted. What is this? The officers who are there should know what is for commercial, for production, and what is for sales on the market. So there are a lot of things we think government should do. Government should consciously support the private sector. If you give me loan at 38%, I'll go and buy and come and sell. If government says EDIF is there to support the private sector, government should just identify companies, invest in them, and expect them to deliver. But you say go for EDIF, then I go to EDIF, they say go to the banks. The banks have to process you and bring it to EDIF before they will give you the money. The banks are selling at 38%. Why should they sell money and get 10%? Because EDIF, you collect 12%, government takes part, and the banks take part. Definitely, they will discourage a lot of people. So yes, they talk EDIF is been there. Not much of our business people have been able to access. We've got over 68 applications here. They go to the banks, it's the same thing. Come and blame collateral, do this. Some of them go, they want 1 million Ghana cedis. They say they can do only 300 for you. It's a lot of problems. Government should be conscious to say, I want to kickstart the private sector, put money into the private sector, monitor and make sure they work. If they want to know, they should talk to the private sector organizations. How do we have organizations? The chamber is here, AGI is there, all these things are there. So can't you go to say that, okay, this year give us 10 people, your own criteria, select winning companies, let government support them and see whether it will work or not. Then next year, give us 10 another people. Gradually, we'll be building the capacity of the private sector. We are talking about PPP, public-private partnership. Who are those coming into the partnerships? All those partnerships are areas where government hasn't got the money to get into. So he wants the private sector to bring money into it. How many Ghanaians can take a loan, 32%, 38%, to come and partner with government? So it means the PPP is reserved for foreigners, because they can get loans at 3.5%, other percentage, lower ones come and partner with government. And we lose out as Ghanaians. So what do we get out of it? But if consciously we have been prepared and equipped, we can partner with government and do whatever every other person is doing. Because all those who are coming, they come and they use the same Ghanaians to do whatever they are doing. They take the profit away. And that is also a drain on us. The city will still continue to drop. Government should look at the ordinary Ghanaian private sector person and invest in the person. And if you give us the support, we can deliver.
You see, the few times that probably government has done something like that, it hasn't ended up well. If you look at Jida, Suba, Isophoton, where they're doing their business and government comes in to say, look, let me help you. The news that are come out after that, sometimes a bit.
I would have been happier if, let's say, all this organization consulted with AGI, Chamber of Commerce, or the other business organizations and say that we want to support this group of people. How do we do it? How do we work it out together? You see, if somebody has not been able to manage 10 cities, they can't manage 100 cities. So what is the criteria they use to push all this money out there? Somebody was asking me, but did the money really get to the right people? That is another question. So it's not about whether government is doing A or B. Government should deal with the right people to be able to get the right resource. But if we come and say, we want to support, we set up this, we want to do this and do that, whilst people are already on the ground doing business, they are not consulted, they are not supported, what do you want to happen? So the fact that those ones have failed doesn't mean that the right thing cannot be done. The private sector is ready to move. We need government support. We need government push. We need government to help us to bring the cost of doing business down. If government is able to say that we are giving loans at 12%, automatically that 22-25% difference is a lot of savings. That will help us to be able to cut down the cost. We're asking government that want to have an industrial zone. We travel around so many places. We saw industrial zones. Each of the industrial zones have got their own supply of electricity. So when we get this thing done, when we are talking about power sharing, we don't talk about sharing power at industrial zones. That is the engine room that lifts the economy. Now we put the lights off, it's off for everybody. I prefer to sleep in darkness than for you to shut my factory down. And that is how it should be. But we shut everyone down. Before you start it again, it's a lot of cost. So if we are talking about these things, government should sit down with us. We say we want industrial zone, maybe 1,000 acres industrial zone. All factories are there. If you are shutting water, we don't shut water. If you are shutting electricity, we don't shut electricity. Let's kickstart and let people work. Then we can produce and supply what we need. Then the excess is exported to other countries. But if you are not able to do that, and anybody comes, he wants to buy a land to have a factory, you go to Kasua. The next time you go to some other place, things are scattered, unregulated. We can't do anything. How do we grow?
Should the private association probably now summon government and say, look, come to our table? Maybe they are waiting for you to come.
I'm sorry, we are waiting to government. Even about 2 months ago, we wanted to see government. They gave us a time at the last hour. They canceled the program. Per our practice, we are supposed to meet government, I think, every quarter, or government representatives, and ask how often. We create the opportunity. We want to sit down to talk to them and say, we think we are part of the system. Let's dialogue and look at the way forward. The last hour, the meeting was cancelled.
What is that single factor that doesn't let the government probably be confident in the private sector? What is it?
That's why I think government should be able to tell us. Maybe he hasn't got confidence within us to say that these are the people, let me sit down with them to work. But I believe we have the open heart to be able to sit down to dialogue with government to move the economy forward. Because things are not going well, we are all not happy. But we believe that it takes some small things will turn up the economy. It's not anything difficult. I'm telling you, it's not difficult. It's pressing the right buttons at the right time, and the solution will be there.
I really like your idea of you nominating maybe 5 to 10 members each year, or even if every 2 years, that, look, these are the guys, this is doing cardboard boxes, this one is doing shoes, and therefore, whatever money you have at a soft loan, boost them, and 2 years later, we'll come with it. I think you'd even let the other ones try to work to a certain standard to get nominated. And
that is it.
I really like that.
That is it. But we are not consulted. We hear somebody is doing something, he's been giving some money, and unfortunately, we don't know about it, and we never hear about it. We never see the company too. So we don't know. But I think we are ready to sit down with government. We are ready to give our inputs for things to be done so that the economy can move on.
I want to take a break here. The Uganda Standards Authority are now saying that they're going to do pre-shipping inspection, which costs money. When the goods get to Ghana, you have the destination inspection companies. They would also re-inspect it, which costs money. Now, these are all adding to our already burden cost of production. I want to find out what the Chamber of Commerce thinks. Is it necessary to make sure that things that come to the country are double-checked, or could we lose one? Well, hello and welcome. And I told you it's going to be an education, didn't I? And I'm here being educated by Dr. Seth Ejeba, who is the president of Ghana Chamber and Commerce and Industry. And before we went on the break, I just wanted to find out about this pre-inspection and post-inspection and all being charged. Has the Chamber heard about it, and are you in agreement or disagreement, and how does it best suit us?
Thank you. I don't know whether it is a way of still discouraging people from import or whatever, but if you are saying we are discouraging us from importing, you're also discouraging us from importing raw materials for industry. One, we're doing inspections before, and there was a policy to change it to destination inspection, which we are doing now, and we are being charged 1% for destination inspection. And now, Standard Authority, I don't know where they are taking their powers from. Parliament, they have not been to Parliament to ask for the 0.5% they want to charge for pre-inspection again. We have written to them for them to sit down with the private sector to look at it, to negotiate. And unfortunately, they are also giving it to foreign companies to take that 0.5% and give them 20% of that, which is 1% to them. Putting money out there to people, taxing and passing it on to the ordinary consumer. It is very wrong. Guta called us and they were so furious. We asked them, cool them down, to ask them to come and sit down with us for us to see what we can do. You see, we are always adding on to the cost of doing business. What is this? So that Standard Board stands up to say that they want to charge 0.5% for inspections. Oh my God. Then what is the 1% they are charging already for destination inspection? If we think it's wrong doing destination inspection, then we better revert to the old system by doing inspection from origin. But we don't do destination and it's a duplicate of work. And charges that will not help, but you are just extorting money from the private sector. I'm sorry. It's not right.
What informed that decision?
I don't know. And somebody asked and they said, oh, we are going to do education in October. I know I've started talking about implementation now. I'm sorry, but that is not right. I don't know whether even they have the power. Without going through Parliament to charge that 0.5%, we look at it as 0.5%. It's a huge amount of money. A lot of money. Just put it there for somebody or what? Please, we have invited them. We've copied the Ministry of Trade. We are hoping they'll give us an audience for us to sit down to talk about it. Because the people are suffering. People are ready to walk to the street. But we try to cool down tension and say that, take it easy, we'll address it. We'll sit down with them. We love our nation. We don't want people to walk into the street. We want to make sure that we can address the issues peacefully and still move on.
But all is not lost, because recently the Commander Sugar Factory opened up. I, one for one, applauded it. I think, wow, sugarcane farmers will be springing up, to breed so many other industries. And I think the Chamber also comments that.
That's right.
What I want to find out is, with such a move, should it be led by government or should it be led by private industry?
Government should allow the private sector to do what they know doing. That's all. Government can give support initially, setting up the policies, the licensing, GLAD and all these things. But if it's taken off, allow the private sector to manage it. When we manage, we make profit, because the ultimate is profit. Government is about service, to make sure that he's able to serve his people, they are happy, so they don't look at the profitability of it. But we look at the profitability. When we make profit, then we look at the social services. So if it has to run and run well, government should give the blessing to the private sector for them to do their work. I'm not saying they should not monitor, but they should not interfere. They should allow them to work, and they'll work and make profit, and government will get dividends and other profits. But if government wants to interfere to try to direct A, B, C, the business is not done that way. They should let the business people do what they want. We applaud that as a laudable idea. The plan of moving it forward should be left to the private sector to do it. And if they do it, they'll do it right, and they'll get it right.
Doc, another thing which I need education on, I mean, because you're talking about moving the economy in the private sector, is it best to, and if you look at the, SMEs, is it best to boost SMEs, or is it best to sort of entice new businesses into the system?
How do we entice new businesses? The one who is there, who has been tested, should be supported to improve, to develop, to expand. Somebody who is just coming, who doesn't know anything.
He probably has a good idea.
He might have the idea, but he must put it into practice to plan it. Whatever is on paper that will look so good, but if you get to the field, you realize that you are joking. What you have on the paper is different thing from what is happening on the ground. So people have been there. Let's support them to expand, to grow. And as they grow, people will learn from them and move from there. Entrepreneurship is not something you learn from the books. It's something you learn on it. Those who are doing it, they will impact on you and you're able to do it. Why are my people, the Kwahus, are all doing business here and there? It is something they learn, they pick up from their fathers, their uncles, their relations, and they get out there and they do well. They do very well. So if you say, because you want to create your own set of business people or entrepreneurs, so you take money to give to new people, I'm afraid it won't work. It won't work. I met somebody who was just going to start business. He bought some things and cost the things and said, when I finish selling, we'll be able to get so much. So even though the things are not sold, he started spending the money. Because when I sell everything, I'll get maybe 5,000. So the first sales, he gets some 1,000, you go and buy a new thing. He gets some 2,000. When I've done the costing, I'll get 5,000. So the next thing, my wife should buy a very nice glove and very nice shoe for people to know that, yes, I'm in business, my wife is dressing well. If something happens along the line and he's not able to make the 5,000 and he has spent 5,000, he has collapsed the business. But somebody who is a businessman will never start spending until he has been able to pay the money and even try to save and save and save. I was telling somebody, when I started doing business, I started with Don't Touch Me soap with 5,000, which is 50 pesos today. Those days, I buy 1 crate of eggs, 30 pieces. I'll use water heater to boil 1 in the morning and eat with kenke. Kenke is taken with fish, but I felt fish was too expensive. Gradually, within 6 months, I could raise from 5,000, buy 10 bags of soda ash, half drum of caustic soda, all the things I need to produce soap. And I could raise 23,000 to start my first shop. Why? I started disciplining myself by way of spending from that time. And until today, I don't go to my office and say, give me 1,000, give me 500. I'm on salary. If I take the money, it's finished, it's finished. But somebody who doesn't know business, has not gone through the training and the practice, go and give him 1 million. Oh, I need a car. People should know that I've come. I need this office. I need that office. I need this. When I moved to Accra in 1993, my house was my warehouse, was my everything. I put them in the rooms, and I sleep in just 1 room until I developed before I could build warehouses. You see? So it's like you should be able to identify those who are there, who are making it, and support them to expand. Then when you do that, you go beyond to attract new people in. It's not everybody who has the capacity to become a businessman. In the same way, there are a lot of business people, no matter what you do, put them in the classroom, they can never become lawyers or doctors. Let's identify those who are in there and support them to be able to do what they know doing right. And if we're able to do that, good news, we move on. I visited Christo Asafo. I saw a lot of things. The man has got ideas. Maybe let's take it that he's not doing it right. Has government boarded to say that let's government get some research people to go and attach to this guy, to tap in his ideas and see how we can polish it and put it out there. He's got a lot of fantastic ideas. How do we go in there and see, how do we support such a person? But we just sit down and tease and ridicule and say a lot of things and other things. I feel so sad and bad about that. Yes, let's go to him. What are you doing? What can we do to support you? What are the areas? Let's see. Okay, Bring the technical people, those with the technical and ideas. Let's sit down and shape his vision and see how we can add value to be able to produce something for Ghana and Africa. He has a dream. He has a vision. How do we help him? We don't. But when he tries, then people start criticizing him. That is how they will criticize everybody to kill people's dreams. They will kill people's dreams. People are saying he's assembling cars. Yes, we assemble a lot of things in Ghana. If you go to China, they are assembling. They are not doing anything new. Everybody is assembling. So what is wrong if he is to assemble? We should be able to go to him that, okay, you have done this car, but we think Ghana, we are looking for such car for government. So if you do it ABC, the government will offload the cars from you so that your company, government should make effort like buying from him. How do you buy from him? Sit down with him to tell him what you want. Give him the support to do it. Then we stop importing cars and leaving the money out there. If we do that, the city will stabilize. You see? But instead of supporting such a person, I'm just using him as an example.
No, I know, because
you just forget about it and you just try to hammer him to destroy him. I feel so sad.
Doc, I mean, what you're saying is so basic, so real in our time. It beats my imagination. And my first question is why?
Why?
I mean, why won't the Minister of Trade go there and say, listen, I'll get you somebody from Toyota, a retired engineer from Toyota to come and attach you. Maybe the state will pay or something. Within 3 years, give us 500 cars. I don't know. Why? I mean...
That's the question I also ask you. Why is the minister not doing that? Maybe it is not in the scheme of plan. Maybe that is not what they are looking at. Maybe we are just talking about supporting private sector, but we are not supporting private sector. I see the support we are getting is not adequate if it is there. So government should support us to be able to deliver. We are ready, we want to deliver, but we need government to support us.
If you traveled outside Ghana and somebody said, what industry is Ghana known for? I mean, what industry are we known for?
Well, we know our mining industry is doing well. Unfortunately, about 78% are owned by the foreigners. We know we are agriculture nation. We have fertile land, a lot of things, and we are still importing 1.2 billion worth of food. It's a challenge. We know we have people into agriculture, about 60% of the population are into agriculture. But we still import food, even though some countries, 5% are in agriculture, they export food. Because still government look at us to use the hoe and the cutlass, still farm. How do we feed ourselves and export? That is why our city is still going down. If we should stop 1.2 billion worth of food, importing that, the city will gain value and come up. But we can't stop it because we talk about agriculture. We said we have imported this, we have done this, we have given this and that. Nothing is happening. Some people came to me and said they haven't got the fertilizer. Farming this year, there are going to be a lot of challenges. Those businesses also who are importing rice and other things, because of the exchange rates, they've lost a lot of money. So if that is what is happening, what is going to happen from October to November? There's going to be acute shortage of food. Are we addressing ourselves to that? Are we addressing ourselves? I think we've made mention to some people in authority that we should look at that. If we don't take it, we are going to have crisis on our hands. Because local farming, we couldn't give them the inputs to be able to do well. And those who are importing are losing their money. So what happens? If you are talking about livestock, nothing is happening. Poultry, nothing is happening. We still import dead chicken to eat here. When I was a kid, I don't know whenever we had chicken soup and the thing was purchased from a shop. Our backyard garden, we get chicken fresh, then you enjoy it. Now, either some are 1 year or 2 years, we still import them to Ghana. It's a challenge. It's even affecting our health. Government should sit with us. We want to sit with government and tell him, Daddy, we have challenges. These are the issues. Let's together address them. If we're able to do that, this country will change within the twinkle of an eye. I have confidence in Ghana. This is still the right destination of investment. The judiciary is doing well. The people are friendly. We have managed population size. And we think we have all the resources. So why don't we sit down and get the right policies to be able to get things done right?
Thank you very much. Why don't you sit down, Jojo, and get the policies right? I was talking to Dr. Seth J. Ba, President of Ghana Chambers and Industry. But I think you wanted to say something about the event coming up. I'll give you 30 seconds to do that.
What I'm saying is that the chamber is for all of you. It's for all Ghanaians, all those into trade and industry, to services, banks, the institutions, all those over there. This is the platform for us to sit down to Jojo, to engage with government, to say, give us the right enabling environment and let's do the business to grow the economy. We are doing that as an advocacy group that speaks for the private sector to make sure that government gives us the enabling environment to make money, to grow the economy. If I'm making money, you are making money, the economy will be growing. Thank you very much.
Well, finally, thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again. Thank you.